record on. Cool,
Shit.
cool. So,
Yes,
Brad,
really quick.
what's your last name, dude?
Last name Dunn, Dunn.
Oh man, and I met you. Well, I'm meeting you really for the first time now, but I saw you in Wes's coaching group. Obviously, you're killing it. You're one of the dudes who understands the blueprint. You're executing that blueprint consistently. Just kind of tell me a little bit about yourself, man. I think you're out in California. I know that
Mhm.
you were full time, maybe doing some training as a firefighter now, but just kind of give me the rundown, dude. Give me that hero's journey.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'll try to make it as expedited as possible. But yeah, I'm Brad Dunn, 33 years old, grew up in Orange County, currently living in San Luis Obispo County.
Nice.
I've got two children. I've got an 8-year-old son named Odin and a 10-month-old daughter named Jasper. And then myself and my fiance live together out here in the countryside on a nice little parcel. I moved up to San Luis Obispo about 8 years ago now. Um, Before getting into the fire service, I worked as a mechanic for roughly 11 years, all the way up from the bottom, starting as a shop apprentice, basically pushing a broom and doing oil changes and small stuff, for like $3 an hour, up to
Yeah.
a semi decent wage. And then kind of bounced in and out of, working as a mechanic and some construction for a while. And then when I turned 30, I just basically decided to go into the fire service. It was something I kind of always like wanted to do. And I thought that, my mentality and my, kind of my athletic drive would be a good fit. And obviously it's kind of an action packed job. So like, it's overall seemed very appealing to me. Um, so went through, EMT, Fire Academy, got on with a couple different reserve companies here in the county. So those are like part-time positions. So basically worked as a reserve firefighter, part-time firefighter at 3 different stations here in the county for about 10 months, and then got picked up by CAL FIRE as a firefighter one, or what they call a seasonal. So you basically work like 8 or 9 months out of the year, and then you're laid off for 3 or 4 months, usually during the winter.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, been doing that for like the last 3 years. And then just 2 months ago now, resigned from CAL FIRE, because my coaching business that I started has just absolutely gone bonkers, dude, like blown the fuck up. And I still work as a reserve part-time because it's a little bit more flexible with my schedule. So I can still give like my clients, my business, the attention it needs without like being at the station and them being like, get off your damn phone. Like, you can't do that here. Like, so that's kind of where it's at right now. And I mean, I'm happy to be here, man. It's been a blessing because, the whole coaching thing, it kind of was just an idea, to maybe generate a little extra income before my daughter was born. And, with the idea of maybe making a couple extra $100 a month to supplement some overtime I wasn't getting. And then it just turned into this beast of a business in just a matter of like 7 or 8 months.
Yeah, definitely getting more than a couple hundred extra, huh?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome,
Yeah,
man.
man.
It gives me like chills, bro. Like every single time I hear of somebody just like feeling that way, elevating to that level, regardless of what it is, man. I think that's a big reason why I kind of wanted to just at least have a conversation with you, because I just love being able to connect with people who have had that feeling, or are living through that feeling, that experience. It's awesome just to have that proximity with people, even if it's via Zoom or something, right?
For
Um,
sure, man.
Dude, Slow's awesome. I love
Oh yeah.
San Luis Obispo. I lived in California. I was stationed at Pendleton for like 5, 6 years. And then I actually
Yep.
lived inside when I
Yep.
got out of the military for a little bit. I had some broken service, and I was going through medic school out in San Marcos. I got picked up by AMR.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I quickly, the day I got hired was the day I decided to go back in the Marine Corps. So they called me, they gave me a job, and then I called them like 5 minutes later, said, I'm not going to take it. So, um,
Man.
but anyways, dude, California's cool. I love the geography out there. Athletic lifestyle. So have you always considered yourself, even when you're like a mechanic, coming up through those ranks, as a really physically active dude? Did you play sports in high school?
Yeah. So I mean, I would say, I've always considered myself an athlete in that sense. I mean, obviously there were time periods and a couple years where it wasn't as much of a focus, but I played, even as a young kid, roller hockey, soccer, football, lacrosse, through high school, even into college. I played lacrosse through high school and into college. Uh,
You go to
and
college?
then I attended Irvine Valley College, which is a junior college in Irvine. And then I transferred to Concordia University of Irvine for a year afterwards and, played lacrosse there and studied kinesiology and sports medicine.
Cool.
So I actually have a background in this versus like some of these, people who are just getting into it to get into it. And I actually worked as a trainer for a period of time when I was 18, 19, 20 years old. So it's something I did previously, but I didn't have a whole lot of success in it when I was younger because not too many people are going to pay a young kid basically.
Right.
They're like, well, what does he know? He's still a baby. You know what I mean? Now that it's kind of transcribed and I've learned a lot more over the years just from like personal application, I felt like I had a pretty good leg up, something to stand on.
Yeah. That's one thing I am talking with, especially Wes about where you're saying, the easiest thing you could sell is fitness and nutrition, right? Because you're experienced in it. And I go, well, I don't really know like exactly what you mean by I'm experienced in it. And he goes, dude, haven't you been like jacked up and beat up and recovered a bunch of times from a bunch of injuries? And I was like, yeah, actually, that's like the story of my life. So I think
Yeah,
it really does make a big difference. Diet, nutrition, you get those numbers down right. You tell people to work out, cool. But really, what do they do when they do injure themselves? How do they prevent that injury? What are like the real methods and things they could be doing daily to keep themselves healthy throughout that process? I think it makes a huge difference.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because I mean, most of the people, and I was guilty of this for a long time too. Like you start like a new regimen, right? A new program, or you're coming into like a new training phase. Like you want to go balls to the wall, right? Like you want to give it everything you got. And then a lot of people will do that after not working out or training for a long time. Like I get a lot of guys who are, in their 30s, 40s, and they're like, yeah, I played sports in high school, but I haven't done shit else because I had kids and this and that. And they want to like go out the gate like they're still 17. And it's like, can't really do that, brother. Like take it slow. Like we're going to work into this. Like you'll gain momentum and you'll gain strength and speed as we move through the program. But I can't put you on basically like an athlete, you know, programmed style of training
No,
right out of the gate.
no. I mean, and you know how it is too, working, in the pre-hospital medical field. Like summertime, the number one reason people get injured is like slip and slides and shit.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
so it's like you guys can't even handle a slip and slide, and you want to start wild sprints and all this stuff. But I as well have been guilty of that.
Oh
That's
yeah.
it's just what we want to do, and you gotta take it slow, take it easy. I actually tell some of my like, so I've finally just signed on like a handful of clients. It's like awesome feeling. It's like incredible. But
Oh yeah.
what I tell them is like a few of them, I said, look, you need to get up and just drink a glass of water every day. And they're like, what? And I'm like, dude, just drink the glass of water every day that you wake up because you need to develop the routine of getting hydrated because you're like not
Mhm.
even hydrated. I guarantee it. And
For
that's
sure.
a huge difference. No, so absolutely, man. Everything you're saying makes a lot of sense. But ultimately, having the experience and having done that before yourself is what makes the difference between a young kid who's never done it before and yourself who's like gone through the ups and downs. And you're saying, no, dude, you got to gradually pull this in as opposed to some, 18-year-old or 19-year-old. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. The life experience thing is a big plus. You know, I see it, and I still see the same thing happening. I see some of these younger kids who want to break into the coaching game, and I'm like, yeah, like you might do all right for people in your own age bracket, but there's not too many like adults per se. And I hate to use that term, but
Right.
are gonna like seek, not only physical and nutrition advice from a younger kid, but like a lot of people actually like it's almost like I'm a fucking therapist too at times. Like I'd spend a decent amount of time talking to people about their problems and not just their fitness and nutrition, you know. So you have to have some sort of, you know, life experience where you've navigated those waters, whether it's relationships or jobs or kids, like having all of that, like some people don't like, well, what do I have to offer? And it's like a lot, like if you really think about it, if you've made it through all of these gauntlets of life, like, yeah, you've got something to offer. You've got something to teach and preach. You can help somebody, because not everybody figures it out like maybe how you and me have. And having that little extra guidance can go a long way with certain people.
Absolutely. And it resonates with that audience specifically. Like, a middle-aged dude who, has just gotten like a little flabby and fat. And this is me looking back. I don't know if I'm middle-aged yet. I'm 36, but when I was looking at my pictures like earlier in the year, I was like, God damn, bro, what the fuck happened to you? Like, I was
Mhm.
disgusted with myself, which is 100% the reason why I was like, okay, who's this Jack Prison dude? I'm called. I just need some like for real. And so when dudes actually like seek that out and then they like make that transformation because they're totally committed to it, now it's like just like everything we've been told, right? You're like the total package to help people transform. All the middle-aged
Mhm.
dads out there who don't want to be super jacked, bodybuilders, but at the same time want to be fit enough to where they're
Right.
white, they feel like they're desired. Like that's just like the perfect group, perfect audience. And because you've gone through that adversity, it definitely helps out. Well,
Totally.
and it's so crazy too, because I kind of am, I do a lot of like violence prevention training, and I'm kind of in this big phase that's like, I don't really think a lot of therapy is, I think that we're like over medicating, being overly soft on the nation's youth and diagnosing everybody with these sensitive issues, which is why we see a lot of emotionally erratic people. And
Mhm.
so that's why we see a lot of these shootings taking place. People are just going their whole life emotionally perturbed. They don't go out anymore, so nobody could tell that the kid, acting a little strange, doesn't have a criminal record, gets a hold of a gun when he's an adult. Anyways, the working one on one with people has, I see what you're saying in terms of like the therapy, because one, physical fitness, they start feeling better, doing better. And then two, they can relate to somebody who's not sitting there judging them as a shrink with a notepad. What are some of the most, I know you mentioned like relationships and some other items, but what do you think is the most common theme that you talk to people about to help them through these processes?
Well, I mean, it's usually one or two things, and it's somebody who's, you know, the typical, thing where, I used to take care of myself, but then I had kids, I got married, I kind of put myself on the back burner because I had to provide and build for this family, which is totally fine. It happens all the fucking time. I think as men, we just kind of naturally do that when we get into that area of life. We put ourselves in the things that we want, like secondary or even dead last, because we have to like, okay, we have to provide, we have to build, we have to protect, and then they reach a point where they're like, they feel like less than, you know what I mean? Because kind of like that same thing you talked about, they see themselves in the mirror or they look at a picture and they're like, fuck, is that really what I look like now? And then they kind of get in their own head about it. And this is kind of what happened to me too. Like I always kind of visioned myself like in decent shape and this and that. And then, I saw a picture of myself. And I'm like, man, something needs to give. Like I refuse to be the motherfucker that says I used to be in shape. I used to be fucking ripped. I used to be able to do that. Like I'm still very, in my mind, very young and very capable. So it's like, why the fuck not go for it? You know what I mean? Um, so like it's usually that, or, people, they come to a point in their life where they feel like they don't really have a definitive purpose anymore. And I feel like when they get, when they start to focus on themselves, they start to really work on themselves through fitness and nutrition, they kind of find that purpose again. Because, when most of us, same kind of thing as men, we spend most of our lives grinding, right? Or ideally, we grind, we fight, we work, to build this life up. But along the way, we put, our ourselves and the things that we want kind of on the back burner. We don't work on ourselves, you know? But when we start to actually put that same amount of effort and dedication into ourselves, you can do some pretty amazing things, you
Uh,
know?
do you think it's important for a man to take care of himself first and foremost so he can best provide for the people around him? Or do you think it's better when the man sacrifices his own self for everybody else?
I think the best man should put himself first, because if you are basically in a good headspace, in a good physical space, then you will be a better protector and a better provider than somebody who is like, well, I got to take care of them first. They come first. Right. I understand family comes first. I'm all about that. But if you are not taking lengths or taking strides to make yourself better for them, then you're being detrimental in the long run.
You always got to put your oxygen mask on first whenever the plane's going down, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Why do you think we've lost sight of that? Because I feel like there was a point in time back in the day where survival was such a necessity day to day. It was such a necessity that men had no other choice but to realize they need to work on themselves emotionally, mentally, physically in order to best take care of their tribe. Why do you think we've lost kind of that foresight? What do you think's happening to men that they keep just falling down these spirals?
I think over not in just the recent years, but in the past several decades, like they've almost like damned masculinity. You know what I mean?
100%.
And it's unfortunate, you know what I mean? Because and this is very true throughout history and in nature. Masculinity, strong people build other strong individuals. Weakness breeds further weakness and insecurity. Uh, so I think just as a society, as a culture, unfortunately, we have just gotten fucking soft, and there's still a lot of us out there that have, fight in us, have that dog in us. And I think this is not only a fitness and nutrition revolution, but just a fucking strong man revolution that's coming back around, where we're kind of, it went full swing in the opposite direction, but it's like any pendulum that swings too far one way is going to come right back. So I think we're kind of having a little bit of an uptick in the opposite direction. Thank God. Where it's kind of like this cultural awakening, like, hey, it's cool to be strong. It's cool to be in shape. It's cool to take care of yourself. Like, yeah, if you want to identify as whatever and do this and do that, like, do your thing, but don't sit here and tell me that I'm a bad person because I promote, fitness and health and being a strong individual and shaping men and even women into the people that they want to be. You know, I think, like I said, as a nation, as a culture, we've just unfortunately gotten way too fucking soft.
I completely agree, man. I couldn't agree more. That's how I live my life every single day. Spent my entire adult life going all over the world, seeing these places and how these kids are growing up. And I'm like, dude, these kids would fucking smoke check all the Americans.
For sure. For sure.
They'd smoke check some of the adults I know.
Mhm.
Working with, and I got my own theories on it. We won't dive too far into it right now. I think that it's easy to control a nation that's pacified. And I like what you said there too a minute ago. Man, America's about freedom to choose to do what you want to do as long as you do not infringe upon the rights or harm another human being. Now, verbally,
Totally.
that's the soft part, right? Like if your emotions are hurt by something everybody's saying, then kind of just shut the fuck up, like honestly,
Yeah.
I'm down to. But when you start to physically impose pain upon somebody, that's when, of course, we draw the line. You've crossed that threshold. And that's how I kind of measure like what's right and what's wrong. In a sense, it's a mixture of a lot of things. But when like right now, the transgender thing is huge. Everybody keeps talking about all this stuff. Man, I've talked to my little cousin. She's in high school. And these kids going around with like the ears, the animal ears. She said
Yeah.
they're banging animal. Not all of them. But like that's like the new fad in high school is like kids are starting to cross a threshold of having intercourse with animals.
Yeah. That's fucking beyond absurd
It's
in
like
my mind.
so when you tell somebody like I don't believe that or I don't really agree with this, and then when they react negatively, like maliciously towards you, that's when I kind of take a step back and I'm like, I don't know if what you're doing is right, if that's the case. And I know what I'm doing is right. And maybe, you feel the same way, but you know what you're doing is right because your heart is clear, your conscience is clear, and you mean no ill will to anybody other than those who are harming others. Do you feel pretty similar about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, I'm like, my intention is never to, I'm not out here trying to put people down or make them feel, less than, and if I do, it's like a call to action, right? It's like, hey, bro, like you let yourself slide, like you still have a lot of life and a lot of fight left in you. Why are you letting it go to waste? And it's like, like problem solution, not just problem, 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 like, and that's just the nature of it. And I think, I mean, not to go too deep into the weeds right there, but obviously in, middle school, high school kids throughout history, that's like a transitional period in life, right? You're finding yourself, you're kind of coming into an identity, you're rebelling against everything you've naturally been, taught or led to believe. And I think our culture is taking advantage of that time frame now in twisting these fucking kids up. And it's sad because you see all these fads and these things that is like normal now. And then it's just, it's a totally different world and it's not cool and it's not okay. And in all honesty, I'm fucking terrified for my kids, but that's why I have to be, physically and mentally strong and have a strong sense of belief so I can lead them in the right direction, because they're going to get to a point where they're in school and they're going to have that period where it's, peers and teachers and everything pushing, pushing, pushing. But I'm going to make sure like, hey, you know what? Like you can be accepting of all that, but in our home, in our household, this is what goes. This is what flies,
Mhm.
you know?
Absolutely. And that's actually kind of one of the points I wanted to bring up today too, was in working with other men and women, which I do have a question about working with women because I just had my first group of women sign up, and I was kind of hesitant about taking them on, but it's totally awesome. Actually, Steve Hawkman, he was showing me some of his female clients, and I was like, dude, that's awesome. You could help them out that way. Anyways, we'll get to that in a moment. But in working with younger people, as they're coming up through these ranks, they're really confused, losing purpose. I see a lot of positive momentum in kind of taking them and guiding them when they're seeking out that type of help. And what you said, leading by example for the family, showing your family that this is the way to live life. What are some of the principles and morals that you've been able to instill in your kids so far? Because I know you said uh, uh, Odin is 8, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So what's that been like with him kind of maturing? Mine's 2, so he's not there yet. Hence the shitting all over the place. But
Odin is taken like really well to this whole thing. I think, I mean, he's always kind of seen me like work out and be somewhat physically fit, but now like seeing me like take it to a whole nother level, like he lives with me part time. I wish I had him full time, but he knows. He's like, Dad, you going to the gym tomorrow? You going for a run tomorrow morning? Like, he knows, what's for dinner, meal prep, like he's on page, and I, I've even had to like tell him to tone it down a little bit. Like he's been going around, you know, calling people out, he's like,
my God.
you're looking a little fat, dude. You need to get on my dad's program. And I'm like, buddy, I mean, I love it, but you kind of need to tone it down like a little bit, but
Yeah.
I could tell like he's not only proud of like me, you know what I mean? Like he sees what I've done and what I've kind of become and how I look and how I act, but I'm starting to see those traits in him. He's like flexing and like checking himself out. And he's like, trying to, he eats like fruit and meat and like healthy stuff. And he's not asking him to go to like McDonald's all the time. Like, so there's pieces that are rubbing off, and I'm not force feeding him any of this stuff. Like, obviously I encourage him to work out with me and stuff like that. I'm like, hey bud, you want to go work out with me outside? You want to go do some stuff? You want to go on a run? You know, but I'm not like, hey, get out here. Like you have to do, it's PT time. Like,
Yeah.
do you want to come with me? Do you want to participate? Not like you have to do this, but he's responded really well. And even our little one too, Jasper. I mean, not obviously that the fitness aspect is even a question yet, but just feeding her whole foods and not like processed baby foods or anything like that. She's literally been eating like meat and berries and vegetables and cottage cheese and yogurt and stuff since she could, like, for the last couple months, as soon as she could kind of chew, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing too, is instilling just that sense of like, hey, these are what we should be eating. This is what our body needs, you know,
So,
versus all this canned, processed fucking garbage that came from God knows where these days with who knows what's in it, you know. And I think that's massively important to, you know, steer your kids in the sense of the nutrition aspect. Cause I see so many of these kids these days, and it's sad. And it's not the kid's fault, it's the parents' fault,
yeah,
you know, because the parents lead a certain lifestyle and the kids are, and I mean, they just unfortunately have to follow suit because they don't know any better. They don't have any real say, you know, like I see these kids, little kids at the beach, you know, or at the water park where I take my kid, and they're like, they they probably fucking weigh almost as much as I do. And they're like 10, 11, 12 years old, like easily, you know, well above 30% body fat. And then I see their parents walk up and I'm like, well, no shit. No, that's why, you know, like, and that's sad, you know, because it's basically just damning these kids to a lifestyle that they just literally had no choice but to be force fed that.
yeah, it's like there's so many different layers at this point because it's been going on for so long with the FDA, the food manufacturers, the pharmaceutical companies, and the doctors that it's almost a little depressing. And it's not hopeless. I don't believe in hopelessness, but when you're
Right.
programmed as an adult, like at such a young age, and now all those young kids that were programmed, are adults, 50 years old, and they've been thinking, cereal is healthy and eating all snacks and donuts and shit doesn't kill you and pop, like out here in the Midwest, we call it pop. You guys call it Coke, I think, out West, if I remember. But,
Yep.
yeah, dude, it's like you're just being force fed all this false narrative, this false information. And then what happens, and I talk to parents about this all the time when it comes to gun safety and child
Mm.
safety, because I did like some work with the Crimes Against Kids Task Force, human trafficking, pedophilia stuff. And I tell them all the time, like, look, like whatever you're doing, your kid is watching. They never fucking listen to what you tell them to do, but they
Right.
all justify their actions with seeing what you do. And so if you're always diving into the Girl Scout Thin Mints, which I admit, dude, I've got
Mhm.
the worst sweet tooth in the world, man. Like, some,
For
if
sure.
there's candy in my house, like it like takes a lot for me not to just ravage it. But
Same.
avoidance is my discipline, bro. Like I could avoid the hell out of something, but the moment it's in front, that's when I really get tested. But it's but then yeah, man, you got kids who are eating the same way. If parents don't know how to defend themselves against violence or violent crime, the kid's going to think that that's acceptable. And you're basically going through life eating like crap, living like
Mhm.
crap. And I saw a guy, he must have been like in his 70s, weighed probably 400 pounds, getting out the minivan with a cane on and an oxygen tank a few days ago. And he's going into the fucking hot dog shop. I'm like, and he's like complaining about his back as he's walking in. And I was like, dude, like, do you not see it? Do you not see what you're doing to yourself, my man? And
Yeah.
man, it breaks my heart, dude.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because I mean, so many people blame the healthy eating thing out of like cost and convenience, you know. And I mean, I understand the convenience thing to an extent, but I mean, it's at what cost to your health, you know, like
Yeah. What's the convenience?
I was basically raised on fast food too. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I grew up on the goddamn dollar menu because we were always on the go. You know what I mean? And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my mom, but she is a horrible cook. You know? So it's like that's what we were fed. And then like up until realistically about, you know, a year, maybe a little bit more than a year ago, I was like, dude, I am like done with fast food unless it's like something that's like Chipotle or In and Out where it's like it's on the it's the lesser of the evil available evil per se, you know?
So this is pretty new to you then. You've only been doing this for a couple years now?
Yeah. So I mean, as far as like my big swing and really taking it seriously, it's my health and my diet, it's been just over a year.
Wow.
Um and then as far as getting involved in the online coaching game, it's been same. It's been maybe like 7 or 8 months that I've been in the coaching game.
Amazing.
Um Yeah. So it's weird. Everything just clicked, right? Like it was meant to be. So I just continue to run with it. But yeah, the nutrition thing, was a big wake up for me because, obviously being in the fire service, you know, there's a lot of poor eating habits,
I was gonna say,
because
yeah, not as healthy as I thought they would be. That's for sure.
right, right. Is there, yeah, a lot of bad habits in the kitchen. And that was like kind of like my original thing was like, okay, well, I'm going to try to teach my guys how they should be eating, because I started diving into like, the very animal based diets, meat, fruit, vegetables only, um, or even just primarily meat and fruit and some basic dairy products. I found Paul Saladino, and I know like some people have some different views on him, but like I literally started like basing my diet off of what he was putting on his Instagram, and it it kind of changed my life, to be honest. You know what I mean? And in the basic sense of just following what they call like a basic animal based diet, primarily focusing on meat and fruit and basic dairy items. And then I've kind of known about macros and calculating macros, and just like I never had the level of discipline to apply it to my own life. And then I'm like, okay, like I'm doing this, like I need to do it. So that was a big part in my transformation physically and mentally, is really, really paying attention and being disciplined and diligent with my own diet, you know, hitting, my appropriate amount of protein, fats, and carbohydrates every day, so that not only I can feel and perform optimally, but I can decrease body fat and increase lean muscle in the most sustainable way possible.
Yeah.
Because that's like the best thing about tracking macros. Like everybody says, well, it's a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass. Well, yeah, it is kind of a pain in the ass, but it's literally the most effective way to get in the best shape possible, because so many people want to do these clickbait fad diets, and don't get me wrong. Some of them work really well. Some of them have served somewhat of a purpose, but the sustainability is not there. You know, uh, you can't like, I love the carnivore aspect. You know what I mean? I love it, but to completely eliminate carbohydrates from your intake for more than maybe a couple months, fucking impossible.
Right.
It's impossible. And I know certain people have like autoimmune things that make that diet more desirable or more easy to follow. And that's fine. There's certain strokes for certain folks. Not everybody is the same, but tracking macros and eating the appropriate amount of each one of those nutrients, protein, fats, and carbs, is the best way to put your body and mind in the optimal state, I believe.
What were you so when I first started tracking my macros, like, in detail, I was astonished, and I was always a pretty lean dude. I mean, fuck, Marsoc Marine, like, I ate really clean. All the dudes always called me a hippie because I always kept my food so clean and whatever, but I always had this, like, layer of fat on me. I never realized how much fat I was consuming and how many carbs I was consuming, and my proteins were like I wasn't even hitting, like, my daily recommended amounts. I
Right.
was mind blown by that, and then I shred 30 fucking pounds of just fat. What were you surprised by anything when you really started keeping track of your diet?
100%. 100%. Cause I knew like when I realized, I was like, okay, I want to change, or I need to change my lifestyle. Um, like I knew I had like gained a little extra weight, but like if someone would have told me you're going to lose 50 pounds, I would have been like, you're fucking high.
Right.
Like I didn't even think I had 50 pounds to lose. I thought maybe 20 best, at best, and then I go from basically 235 to like right now, I kind of float between 185 and 190. That's 50 fucking pounds, bro. Like that's not like a small amount of weight. Like people coming through my program and basically me teaching them what I did, and they're losing, 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds. Like that is life changing,
Dude.
life changing on not only the longevity of your health, but the quality of life that you get to experience, like joint pain, inflammation, all that fucking shit that goes along with being heavy and overweight and carrying extra weight that you shouldn't be carrying. Like your quality of life immediately increases every time you lose, like, I don't know, let's just say 5 to 10 pounds, you know, it's like becoming a whole new human being.
It is. I mean, that your energy levels, your attention to your focus with your family or your task at hand, you're not seeing your gut hang out the side. You're not looking at yourself in those pictures, wasting all that valuable energy, just like daunting over yourself, man. It's
For sure.
mind blowing. And I tell my these dudes the same thing where I'm like, dude, you're gonna get down to 160. And they're like, no, I'm not. That's insane. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I thought it was insane too, but it's not. And I got my one guy right now, he's down 20 pounds in the first 4 weeks. Dude, what an amazing, and it's so cool to watch other people because I don't know about you, but for me, when I did it for myself, I was like, okay, cool. This works for me. I hope this works for the next guy. And then you
Right.
see bring work to the next guy and you're like, holy shit, this is like universal. Did you
Yeah.
have moments like that?
Yeah. I mean, like when I first started, like I was like kind of, obviously you have that little bit of self-doubt, right? You get your first couple clients, you're like, man, I really hope they stick it out and really like see the change and feel the change that I've experienced, like, and then I just had to tell myself, I'm like, like I've basically provided all the information that I had to find out along the way and put together. Like I literally have compiled it in an easily followable and digestible manner. So it's like they literally can't fuck up, like unless they choose not to do the things that I lay out for them.
Right.
Like I always tell them when they're him and hawing, like, oh, I don't know, because a lot of people like they think it's not going to work for them, and I'm like, the only reason it wouldn't work for you is if you decide to not work at it. That's the only reason it wouldn't work for you. You get what you put in. I have, and I said that on one of my videos yesterday or my stories. Like I got all these clients, and there's only maybe a handful that really are giving it 100%. And those are the motherfuckers that are coming through, like cut the fuck up, looking like they're about to step into like a magazine photo shoot. But it's like they put in what they wanted to get out of it. And so they're reaping the rewards, they're reaping the benefits. There's a lot of people that come in and they think just because they paid me to set them up, that's the end all solve all. And it's like, no, you have to work at this every fucking day for months, and once you get to that point, you have to continue working at it. Like the game is never over,
No, it doesn't.
but somewhere along the line, you're going to fall in love with the process and you're just going to love every minute of it. And it's not going to bother you anymore. But that first month, 2 months, maybe 3 months can be really fucking physically and mentally taxing for some people. And that's when they give up.
And then eventually when they cheat on it or whenever they break that rule they're supposed to be maintaining, then they start to feel like shit. And
They get guilty.
that is the biggest thing for me, man, where like I'm like looking at some treats or an ice cream sundae and I'm like, I wish I just didn't know what I know because I'm just gonna and
Dude, totally.
I think that's really when the lifestyle change starts to happen. So your first handful of clients, right? Like that's always, I think, the most difficult thing for people is to get a hold of that first handful of clients. For me, I gave my phone number and I'm texting them daily. I'm having them literally weigh themselves daily just so I could stay in check. Anything that I could do to maintain communication with them because I know how quickly it can dissolve, right? We're grown
Yep.
adults, separate lives. That's what I was doing to maintain continuity with everybody. What did you do to maintain good connectivity, good connection, good relationship with your first handful of clients? And do you still have that relationship with them? Are they still killing it, crushing it in the program?
Yeah. So when I first started out too, like I was kind of like overbearing in a sense, like I wanted to make sure everybody was on point, like every day, checking up on people all the time. And it was eating a lot of my time, honestly, like trying to chase these people around and be like, did you hit that? Did you do this? Do you have any questions? How's everything going? Where are your macros at? You know, but, I got to a point where my client base got so big where I literally could not chase these people around. You
Right.
know what I mean? I had to just know in my own heart that I provided all the necessary information, that they needed to succeed. And I had to let it be known, if you need anything, if you have any questions, if you need anything changed, if you're curious about anything, reach out to me, you know, because I can't, and I'll tell them this too. I'm like, I am not going to seek you out. I have too many goddamn clients to fucking hit you up and be like, how's everything going today, Jim? Like, I just don't. There's certain people who come to me and want that aspect. So I kind of pre-program it into my brain. Like, okay, I have these couple of people that literally came here for that. They want me to check in with them like once a week. But with, going from basically 5 or 10 clients to now over 200 clients, I just can't physically, I can't do it. But I keep a very open door, and I try to emulate that as best as I can. Like, if you need me, hit me up. I'll hop on the phone with you. I'll message you back. I'll text you. We can set up a Zoom call or an Instagram call to like the people who are in other countries. Like, I make myself available. And I feel like that's been very beneficial. But other than that, I just do, like, right now, I do a once a week Zoom call on Sunday mornings, and the people who are available to hop on and want to hop on, they check in and they show face. And I know the people that show face and make a point to be there are following the program the way it was intended. You know, like, kind of like I said earlier, I could build anybody the most effective fucking workout plan. I could put your diet together piece by piece, almost to the gram for what you need to consume every day, with a shopping list and a designated, kind of meal plan to follow. But if you don't follow it, like, if you don't want it, it doesn't do you any good. So these people have to want it. They have to want to show up and do the work that I've put out for them. And, I had to reach a peace with myself. Like I said, I provided all the necessary information. It's up to them if they want to apply it or not.
So that's a big thing I see a lot of people doing where, and again, myself included at first, where you want to make sure that they understand everything. So you're like chasing them down. I like how you said that. You can't be chasing them down forever. And
No.
that you could take that step back and allow them to do their own thing. And I think there's a little bit of patience involved with this too, right? Because if you have two clients and neither of them are communicating with you, yeah, sure, maybe you could reach out, but don't be proactively, offensively trying to make them do the program. You can't make the horse drink
Right.
the.
Right.
But once you get a handful of clients and you take that step back and you realize, hey, this one keeps hitting me up all the time, cool. So I'll make myself available for all of them. But then you start to see which one's making that transformation, making that change. And so it sounds like the ones who are sticking to the program the most are the ones who are seeking out your time the most, not the ones
Bingo.
chasing down.
Bingo. That's totally right. The ones who choose to maintain a certain level of communication on a regular basis are typically doing better. They're typically sticking to everything the way that it was intended. And then there's people on the opposite end of the spectrum too. Like, they'll come through. I'll lay out the steps for them. Like, let's just say for like a 90-day program, and I won't hear a goddamn word from them. And then they'll shoot me a text like at the end of their 90 days, and they're like, dude, I lost like 30 pounds. I feel great. And they'll shoot me a picture. I'm like, holy fuck.
That's awesome.
Like, where the hell have you been? But that's always cool too, because I just assume when people stop checking in and stop logging workouts that they just fell off. But there's a couple people where they just get into the rhythm and they just go and go and go and go. And then they'll like hit me up and they're like, hey, I want to re-sign up. And I'm like, fuck, I thought you fell off like a month and a half ago, but different strokes for different folks. Some people need that level of communication, and some people are just like, give me what I need, and they run with it, and I'm happy to cater to either one.
What do you think the most valuable lesson you've learned these last 8, 12 months, since you really, made this change, focus? I mean, dude, you're blowing up, man. Like, let's just be straight out. It is awesome. I think when I first started following you, and this wasn't that long ago, you had like 80,000 people, and I think you've doubled or even double and a half that now. How many followers do you have on Instagram? Like over 100,000?
No, I'll probably break 100,000 this week. So I think I think I'm at like 96,000 right now.
I think we're at 60 when I first started following you just a couple months ago. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's been wild, man. I'd say I probably averaged between, a couple hundred followers a day, maybe even upwards of 2,000 followers a day sometimes. Like, there's days where it's just like a fucking meter, a wheel just spinning, you know. I'm just like, I can't even keep up with it. I just keep running my program, following the blueprint, you know, to the way that I've adjusted it to make it fit my life and my style. And that just keeps coming. You know,
Good.
I'm grateful, you know, because I definitely, you know, feel like I grasp, you know, some attention, and then I'm able to maintain that level of attention.
Yeah, it lets you know that what you're doing is must be valuable if people are responding that way to it.
Yeah, no, and I mean, yeah, and I feel it's very valuable, you know, just because there's nothing that I'm giving these people that I didn't do myself, you
Mm.
know, and I think that's where what I know how valuable and how powerful it can be because they, you know, it's like this program, like following this deal changed my life, and it can change yours too if you're putting the right energy and the right effort into it. You know, I felt less than, I felt lost. I didn't know what my fucking purpose was. And, you know, and in that, like, did I have a thought and idea that I wanted to get into the coaching space? Yes. Did I think that it was going to be like this full transformation of like mind and body? No, you know, but like, it completely reshifted my trajectory in life. So it's like, if I could even offer that to somebody else, you know, like, hey, I know you may not know where you're at in life right now, but if you do this, you could fucking change everything about you in a couple of months, where you're going, who you're going to meet, what you're going to do, your income, you know, because it did it for me. And they're
Right.
like, wow, really? And I'm like, oh yeah, just do this. Like, and some people are like, well, it's like, this is very like monotonous. And I'm like, that's kind of the point, you know, like you just, it's a daily grind, you know, and there's nothing necessarily special about it. You know, it's basically just putting your axe to the fucking grindstone every day and getting after it like it was day fucking one and treating it as the such.
Yeah, I think the first thing I noticed about your posts that I kind of resonated with was you eat very similar each day with like these minor modifications in your
Mhm.
recipes. And I do the exact same thing. Very similar every single day. Maybe some green onions today, maybe some red peppers today, maybe some mango instead of blueberry. Why do you do that? Like, do people ask me all the time, like, why do you eat the same thing every day? And I tell them it's not the same thing. It's just consistency. What do you tell people when they ask you why you eat so similarly each day?
That I'd say the same thing, consistency, because that's what this is all about at the end of the day, is having a certain level of consistency. And where people get derailed on some of these programs, you know, they'll be like, well, what about, where's my other meal plan? I'm like, what other meal plan?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, this is one day of eating. I'm like, that's all you really need until I tell you to change it, you
So
know? You know, like they want variety, and it's like variety is going to derail you from staying on course because you're going to be thinking about options rather than just action, you know? And, I mean, even with this couple of the staples, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you got like realistically, like the three types of meat, four types of meat that we probably consume on a regular basis: ground beef, chicken, turkey, fish.
yeah.
And then you got fruit, some basic vegetables, rice, and sweet potato. Out of those options right there, you can make a plethora of basic dishes that you can stick to for months that will deliver results, because I did it and I'm where I'm at. So why wouldn't you want to follow the same footsteps that I took to get to where I'm at?
Absolutely. And just eradicating the decision making process is so critical because we get overwhelmed so quickly, especially with a new lifestyle, new habits, new routines. You will
Hmm.
fall rail faster than you can even realize. And before you know it, you got a whole face full of donuts and candies and cakes. And you're like, how did this even happen, man? Thought I
For
was just
sure.
strawberries or blueberries. But cool, man. So I know we're kind of being sensitive to your time. I did want to ask you more about your childhood, but maybe we could even do another interview another time to kind of
We
break more down
we can
into.
keep we
Yeah.
can keep going, bro. I'm not in any rush right now.
Okay, cool, cool. Let me just double check. Sweet. I've got quite a while. I got to run to the store and that's it. So so you said you know your mom. Do you know your pops? Where'd you grow up? How did you end up because I know you were drinking and you were getting into some brawls. I've seen some of your content in that regard.
Yeah.
You know, what's the story behind all that? So what was the childhood like, siblings, family, and then what got you down that road where you're like, I gotta make some serious changes?
Yeah. So I mean, I grew up in, the typical American household. My mom and dad were, happily married until I was probably about 17. I had a younger brother who is 3.5 years younger than me. We grew up in a nice home. My dad owned his own company. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. We, walked to and from school every day, like that, typical everyday suburban American, played sports, the whole nine.
What kind of
And then
company?
that's construction landscaping, commercial landscape.
Cool, nice.
Um, so yeah, and then, parents split up when I was 17. Me and my brother decided to stay with my dad. And then obviously, like that whole high school stage, right? Where, drugs and alcohol are kind of introduced into your life and peer pressure and all that shit. And just the people I was hanging around and the lifestyle that I was kind of leading or what I thought was cool at that time, it just kind of sucked you in, right? Like where you're 16, 17 and you're going to high school parties and you're drinking and you might be fucking around with drugs every now and again. And then you wake up and you're 25, 26 and you're still doing the same exact shit, you know, and you don't even realize that that's like not the way that we were supposed to live and operate. You're just like, fuck, dude, what the hell happened in the last 10 years? Why the hell am I still doing this shit? But, that was basically it, man. Like going out, getting drunk, getting violent, getting in fights. Like that was just life. And that's what I thought was normal. And then I kind of stepped out of, I mean, that was part of the reason I wanted to get out of Orange County, among a couple other reasons. My dad passed away unexpectedly when I was 25, 2 weeks after my son was born. So that was like a massive shift in my life. That was where like my lowest low, and then not to mention, dealing with the loss of my father, being a new father myself, being in an extremely toxic relationship. And then, over the course of the next, realistically, the year or so, like losing a couple other very close people to my life, I just didn't give a fuck, about anything. I didn't really want to live or pursue. I was just numb, and that's how I dealt with it is I drank all the time. I would do drugs. I never did like heroin or meth or anything like that, but I would do coke, quite often if it was available. I used to do a lot of reckless shit, like fucking rob drug dealers and stuff like that, because I figured it was easy money and I was meaner and stronger than them. So, it was, it was kind of a thrill in a sense, but I was just on this fucking hellbound course for prison or death.
Yeah.
And, and it was fun for a while. And then I kind of just woke up one day and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, uh, I got really lucky a few times. I dodged a couple big cases. I got into a fight with a couple sheriffs, on duty sheriffs at a local bar for some bullshit. And they were trying to hang me on 10 years and it fortunately went away. And then another incident up here where a buddy of mine knocked this guy out. And then he said that we robbed him and jumped him and they wanted to get me for 3 to 5 on that, among a couple other small things through the years. And then, I kind of just woke up one day and was like, there's a reason why I'm not dead or in prison. And I need to figure out what the fuck that is. You know, I've been living such a negative and toxic life for so fucking long and just protruding that negativity and toxicity onto other people. Like I need to do something that's like positive and good. And to me, like getting into the fire service was kind of like that transition. Like it would force me to toe a certain line. Like I would have to behave. I would have to clean up my life. I would get the opportunity to kind of serve others and like kind of like pay my karmic debt in a sense. And the fire service was honestly a life save for me because I was going down that path. And it brought me back into my disciplined ways, my structured ways that I had when I was playing sports. And that was, something I needed. I thrive, as much as I rejected it for so long, structure and authority and this and that, like I needed it. I fucking needed it, you know? Um, so that gave me that. And then obviously through the fire service, like, coming into this kind of higher position, like my initial response, like reason for wanting to get in really good shape was, obviously so I could better serve as a fireman and be a better example to the other firemen that I worked with. You know what I mean? Like be your brother's keeper in a sense. And, it just totally evolved into a whole nother thing where, obviously that was my primary intention was be the best firefighter I possibly could be, change my life, change my habits, and hopefully the people I work with and around will change theirs too. And, follow my lead per se. And then, seeing the coaching aspect and seeing that I could possibly have a positive influence on a much more vast audience, it just seemed very appealing. And, I've been very fortunate to have such a massive reach and a massive impact on a lot of people all over the nation and all over the world, and I kind of sat down and realized this the other day, like, man, like I have made a bigger impact as a coach than I did as a firefighter. And like, I never thought that was going to be even physically or remotely possible, you know, but it's like, and not even to like toot my own horn, but, or try to be, like, oh, I'm fucking doing so well. It's like, I literally get people telling me all the time now, like, you fucking changed my life. Like, you are the reason that I decided to start eating healthy. You are the reason I went to the gym today, and these are not even people who are clients of mine or on my program. These are random people that follow me on Instagram and just feel the need to tell me it. Like I started following you a couple months ago. I have implemented a couple of the things I see on your page, and I've been able to do this in the meantime. And I'm like, dude, that's fucking incredible. Like,
Yeah.
that's amazing, and it's super rewarding, man. Like, literally, like, feel blessed.
It's a beautiful thing when you get those random messages saying, I really needed to hear this today. It's like,
For
really?
sure.
I would have never thought in a million years anything that I have to say has any significance or value, which goes to show anybody who's even listening to this, like every human being, I honestly think, has the ability to do something great in this life. It's so
Absolutely.
and it's so crazy how our belief systems, man, like even and I totally see you as a humble guy, right? Or a humble guy. Some people say humility is not necessarily the best thing, depending on the definition of where you read it from. But I see you as a dude who doesn't, brag and toot your own horn, right? As you just said. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know about you. For me, the Marine Corps, you're always getting shit on every single. It doesn't matter if you're a SOC Marine it does not matter. You are a piece of shit. Shut up. Move forward. It's like, well, fuck. Okay, I just like did this amazing thing, but whatever. Wait, why do we just always we never celebrate our victories anymore?
Totally.
What
Totally.
what do you do
Um,
to keep yourself enthused and to celebrate without damaging or appearing to be like a douchebag? I mean, maybe it's just all false and we should just be celebrating it.
we should. I think that's a big thing too, is we've for so long, we've kind of had this like tough guy culture, like shut the fuck up. You want a high five or a handshake for doing what you're supposed to do,
Yeah,
where it's
exactly.
like, we need to be, hey, good fucking job, man. Like, you fucking killed that shit. Like, you really fucking, you did well. You pulled through. People love to be, complimented or showered with some form of grace, and I know that as, we kind of, like I said, we, in the society we are in now, it's compliments are not easily given, but you kind of just have to like form that circle of people who are kind of on the same path and want to do the same things. And you just have to pay that level of respect to those people in your circle, because that's like the most powerful thing you will have in your life. With everything else in our lives and everything else that we're up against in the world today, like if you have like, let's just say 4 or 5 solid motherfuckers who are like really on your team and really understand what you're trying to do and they want to do the same thing, like you could fucking do anything.
Yep. Yep, it's the power of the mastermind. It's the power of proximity. Absolutely. And, I agree with what you said. It's weird. It's like there's this weird, like strange twist on things. Good compliments for raw, genuine, amazing behavior are hard to come by because
Hmm.
people are so emotionally like isolated these days. Whereas at the same time, the superficial bullshit compliments, everybody gets a trophy type thing, seem to be so readily available. So it's like the ones of sustenance are the ones that we're almost like programmed from society to keep to ourselves. Shut up. It just seems like people are just trying to control people so desperately these days. I don't know if you ever feel the same way.
Yeah, the control thing, and I think people are easily intimidated by success. Um, because what happens is if someone is like promoting their level of success, then someone is immediately like they're like, well, fuck, I haven't done shit. They immediately feel that level of guilt, where they feel they get that overwhelming sense of being less than. And I think, like you said, the participation trophies and all these easy awards, we've kind of shushed that like I'm fucking killing it aspect to save those people. And it's like, fuck that. Like people need to hear that we are doing good in life because someone like we'll just say ourselves for an example. We step up. We're on a social media platform. We're recognized for doing a certain thing and we have a level of success that goes along with it. That breeds more success because
Yes.
people want to step up and achieve the things that we have done, and they see that it's possible that someone everyday motherfucker that had a tethered past, that been through some shit, can fucking make it out and do something big. you know it doesn't matter what the fuck happened, 5, 10 years ago. It's like, what are you doing to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Absolutely. Well, what are you doing right now in this moment, in this absolute instant to build yourself up positively and just say fucking no more, man? Like I'm done living this mundane lifestyle, this lifestyle I'm not satisfied with. And if X, Y, or Z could do it, then I know I should be able to do it too. Do you talk to a lot of people that you grew up with when they see you on social media, or do they kind of just, like the whole Jesus wasn't even a prophet in his hometown type thing?
There's a couple I talk to. There's a couple people I still am very close with, fortunately. Because I mean, then that's the sad thing about some of this personal development shit is like sometimes you just outgrow your circle, like the people that you were very fond of and thought that you had a close relationship with because of that intimidation of success. But fortunately, I still have a couple really close friends that like I can sit down and chop it up with and don't like have any weirdness about what I'm doing or like don't want any, limelight bullshit. It's like they're just the same fucking person that we were when we were in fourth or fifth grade, and I have a lot of new people in my life too that I'm fortunate for because without them, I would feel very alone sometimes in this, because not only just with what I've gone through in the last couple of months with my own personal change and my own level of growth, but leaving, walking away from the fire service, not necessarily being a full-time firefighter anymore. I there's a lot of flack that came with that too.
But
You
yeah.
know, but it is what it is, man. Like it all there's a fucking reason things kind of clicked and like went into like this level of momentum.
There
And
is.
I feel like I'm in the right time in the right space doing the right thing right now. So I'm gonna just keep it fucking going.
Dude, and it's all about, because I've experienced something pretty similar. Like I don't talk to the vast majority of guys who I serve with, and I can empathize with what you're saying because it's like when you're willing to die for another human and then they just shed you off over like nothing, you wanting to better
Yeah.
yourself, it's like definitely a gut wrenching experience. But
Yeah,
just like any other adversity, right? Comes that strain. And it's like, fuck,
totally.
this really hurts. Then I must be getting really fucking strong out of this?
Totally. Yeah. No, and it's wild, but it's cool at the same time. It's fucking empowering. There's those days where you feel like, fuck, man, like what the fuck is going on? And then there are days like I'm on top of the world. You know,
Dude,
like I've literally made it through all of this fucking stuff and I'm still going strong.
that was a question I had for you too, was where do you find your stress levels in the sense of, for example, when I wake up every day, dude, I am like, yeah, yeah, sure, physically groggy sometimes, but most of the time, dude, I'm like fucking pumped, right? And I get my day going just because I love life. I truly love life because I've been denied life for so much of it. And I've just been going all these shitty places. Now it's like fucking amazing, right? So, but at the same time, like halfway through the day, I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, how am I running my own fucking am I making it? Am I not making it? Cash flow bullshit admin work. It just drives me nuts, dude, to the point where I was just like, what the fuck? Do I even know what I'm doing? And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden, like somebody comes through with like a message like, hey, thank you. Or I see somebody's results, or another client will begin to close, does close. Like I said, I've just started getting my first handful of these types of clients. And then it's like, fuck yeah, dude. All right, cool. I am on the right path. It's almost like God. I don't know if you believe in God or the spirit or whatever, but it's almost like it's
Yeah.
them kind of like, okay, just so you know, you're still on track. How do you handle like the day to day? Do you find yourself with the same emotional swings, the stress? How's that all go for you?
Well, I mean, obviously there's good days and there's bad days with everything. But it's wild, you know, like the days where I'll feel like I'm the most like pent up about something or like stressed, you know, and it's usually something fucking dumb. Like where, you know, like my I hate to use it as an example, but it's true. My son's mom, you know, dealing with her is a fucking nightmare. And I'll just get all like worked up, like, fuck, you know, because I still have like yet to master that level of self-control in a sense, but it's a process. Um, but it's like doing shit like this, you know, hopping on and talking with somebody or even a client who's like struggling with somebody. So it's like I almost like find peace in helping somebody else like find theirs, you know, and it's wild, you know, like it's happened a couple times lately where I'm like, man, that's really it. Like that's the ticket. Like when I'm fucking feeling a certain way, like I need to find a way to alleviate that feeling that from somebody else, you
Dude.
know? And, it's been happening a lot and I'll like be in these weird funks, these weird moods and I'll get a client who's like, hey man, can we talk for like 15 minutes? And I'll run them around. I'll give them like the talk off the ledge whole thing. Like, and then afterwards, I'm just like, on cloud nine. Like I feel fucking amazing. Like I completely released all of my emotions, my stress because I helped alleviate somebody else's.
And you're focusing on them in the moment. And it's like servitude is honestly the highest vibrational frequency I think there is. I don't know if it's gratitude or servitude.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
so mesmerizing. And I just had that happen to me yesterday where I made that connection of, dude, when I'm bored, when there's nothing going on, because I have this like inability to just relax and hang out, right? I can't do it. It's
Right.
like all anxious and shit. And
Same.
I start like drilling holes in the wall and then I get busy and then I don't do it for like 3 months. It's like a fucking meth head lives around here. And and, but then I had a young guy, hit me up and I'm sitting there talking with him. And then, after we're done, like you just said, the energy is way different. And I was like, man, that's the thing is I must find a way to consistently provide value to other people. And then what does that do? Creates a
Mm,
greater global impact. And what's that do? That draws more positive attention towards yourself. And it just really compounds from that point forward. And so I think, one of the best things to take away from today is that the number one thing that we can do as humans, from my opinion, is really just to find somebody to serve, or whether that's a phone call, a message, an act of kindness
absolutely.
of some way, man. It really makes a huge, huge difference. It's remarkable. What
Absolutely.
what what's the number one thing you've learned so far these last 8 months? What's the number one thing that you think that you've come to the conclusion of in the last 8 months?
Nothing is impossible or nothing is out of reach. You
Mm.
know, there is so much opportunity and abundance in this world. And the only reason people choose not to go out and get it is because they're afraid and they think that they can't do it. You know, uh, some of the things that I've accomplished in these last 8 months, like even, a year ago, 2 years ago, I would have thought were 100% fucking impossible, and it's just flat out not, you know, there's somebody out there is doing what you want to do and living the life you want to live. So why can't you? You know, there's there's a way to make anything and everything happen. And it all starts with your level of what you're willing to do to go get it.
Dude, everybody always gets over anxious about market saturation and somebody else has already done it. There's 8 billion people in the world, man.
Mhm.
Like a billion seconds is 32 and a half years. A million seconds is 11 days. That's the space difference. A million versus 1 billion. Now there's 8 billion people in the world. And all you need is like 100,000 people if you really want to make a positive impact on the world. If that, maybe even 1,000 people. Um,
Totally.
cool, man. Well, this has been cool, dude. I really appreciate your time, brother. Where can people find you with the Instagram handle? Anywhere else that you got some sort of social media so they can check out your programs and get jacked and get ripped?
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram is reliant.fitness. It's same with my YouTube, reliant.fitness. TikTok is reliant.fit. But the best place to actually reach out and contact me regarding, getting on a program is 100% Instagram. You can either shoot me a direct message or you can fill out the application form that's in my bio. That's the best way to get a hold of me, honestly.
How quick are people going to see results if they work with you?
I mean, if you follow through with everything that I put on the program for you, I mean, you'll start seeing and feeling improvements in a couple of weeks. But I usually push people to commit to at least my 90-day program because that's a realistic time frame to like build discipline, get the lifestyle under control, get it like a level of consistency that will actually yield real results. People out here selling 30-day miracles, like it's really not realistic. You
Like
know,
at 90 days is that perfect marker, man, because you're seeing that difference. I mean, how long did it take you to drop to 50?
I mean, in all reality, I'd say probably about 6 months,
Damn, dude.
maybe a little more than 6 months.
At 90 days, you're at least at 25 pounds then, right? Like 25, 30
Yeah.
pounds. 25-pound difference. That changes. I mean, I did 29 in 30 day or 90 days, so
Mhm.
life changing, man, for anybody.
Yeah. And I'd say that's pretty much the going rate on a 90-day program of someone who really works at it and applies what I put out for them is somewhere in the 20, maybe 30 pound range. Um,
Of healthy weight loss, healthy fat
Mhm.
loss, positive lean muscle gain. That's dope, dude. I love seeing your stuff, man. I love seeing your client wins. I just I wish you the best of success, man. Hopefully this, isn't the last time that we talk. If I'm ever out in slow, dude, you best believe I'm gonna hit you up because I love that town so much, man. It is
Hell
such a
yeah.
cool town. I'm going out to San Diego. I don't know if I'll be up north later this year, but yeah, man. As everybody who is listening heard, I don't give a shit if you don't work with me. Work with Brad. Go ahead, better your life, make yourself better, contribute to life positively, especially here in America. But regardless of where you're at in the world, we as human beings have the ability to change shit. And it's just a matter
Mhm.
of finding somebody to help you build that connection, build that momentum, and overcome those obstacles. So hit up Brad, Reliant.fitness on Instagram. It is him that messages you back. And
Mhm.
yeah, man, I would say just hang tight. I'm going to stop recording here, but thank you very much for your time.
Hey man, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you again.
Right on, man. Let me turn this thing on.